All right, are we here? Oh, people, do you hear me? Are we here? This is Central Control. This is Central Control. What was that from again? Louis Theroux. Did you see it? Anyway, it was the dude talking to the aliens, you know. Corton from the planet Coldass. How on earth are you doing, my little beauties? Welcome, welcome. The king has returned. I thought I'd give myself a really arrogant title, you know, just in case there's anyone out there that still likes me. Well, how on earth are you? It's good to be back. I've been away, you know, I was over somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the south of France, and by my estimation, and I've done the calculation, I reckon this is the longest I've been away from a computer since I was 12 years old. That's right, I had no computer at all, nothing. So my fingers, I woke up and my fingers feel good, you know. One of my biggest challenges I've had has been just painful fingers, you know, especially my knuckles, but they feel great, you know. My neck's cool. I've still got this. I'm so paranoid about this. It's not a lump. It's like, it's white. Look at it. I am Glasgow's answer to Michael Jackson. Never got too much sun, but I got a whole bunch of mosquito bites. Anyway, how on earth are you doing, my little beauties? Is everybody okay? We have Kyle in the house. Ahoy to you, Kyle. We have the great Stefan Hummel. How you doing, Stefan? It's so good to see you here. Mr. Mark is here. Man, it's so good. Etc. Etc. And if you're watching the replay, there's definitely millions of people potentially right here in the room. Okay, I have to say, I'm looking at myself in the thing. I can see myself. And I'm actually looking a bit rough. I never got too much sleep over there. The mosquitoes were killing me. Fortunately, they never got my face, but they got everywhere else. You should see me. It's like bullet holes, you know. And I apologise if I look a bit rough. I haven't really slept. I've just been like this, you know. You hear them at night coming at you. And of course, the hair's looking a bit thin today, but that's not a problem. You see, folks, here we have answers for everything. Let me just sort my hair out here for you. Here we go. Here's your first free tip. This stuff is like, I'm going to go for a JFK vibe tonight. This stuff is it's about 20 quid. I'm not sponsored or anything, but it's about 20 quid, I think, from the web, you know. So let's just sort that out. I'm not going to go on a bald guy. No chance. I've been bald. I ain't doing it again. How you like me now? How you like me now? See? See? All right. There we go. See? Would you like a close-up? All right, here we go. There's your close-up. Okay, that's close enough. Anyway, very nice to see you. Okay, there we go. Very nice to see you, folks. How many times am I going to say that? Anyway, I haven't got. I'm not going to be on for too long. Quick wristwatch check. I'm going with the Citizen Chandler. I'm going for the military vibe today. You know, I just like this. I've realised that I like military watches. It's my favourite style because they are, of course, the no bullshit style of watch. You know. Anyway, I thought I would just quickly check in, say a few hellos. If I sound a bit rushed, it's because I have to go and pick Coco up. Coco is, of course, our little cat. And right now, Coco's over at my brother's house, so I'm going to have to head over there very soon indeed. But I wanted to just check in, share a few thoughts, and talk about some of the thoughts and things that I've been having while I was away. Some people had says to me, you know, take a pen and paper and write down ideas and stuff like that. Well, I never did anything like that. I pretty much had, I had a TV that had YouTube on it. So I had that, right? And I watched a lot of the wristwatch revival channel, which I really enjoyed. I've watched tons of watch repairs for some reason. and I watched a lot of Kitchen Nightmares as well. You know, Gordon Ramsay's show. I love that show. So I was watching a whole bunch of that stuff, but I wanted to just see what it would feel like to switch off and walk away, and then, you know, come back. Shall I come back inspired? Will I have a new plan? Am I going to rethink my whole life? I was just interested to see what would happen, you know. So I can tell you a couple of things that popped into my mind, and most of them were well, kind of what I would have expected. But there were one or two little surprises. So I'll give you the stuff that I kind of expected. Now that I've had a chance to step back from the vortex for a week, well, I've been having a think about this. And you'll remember I told you that I've got, or I had a TV that could watch YouTube. So I could watch YouTube, couldn't type comments or anything. It's a TV. Maybe I could, but I wouldn't know how to. So I watched a lot of Kitchen Nightmares. I watched a lot of watch repairs, but I also did watch a reasonable amount of content on the subject of AI. Here we go. You knew that was coming up. And I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I am now of the opinion, and there's a lot of people far more intelligent than me who will disagree with this, and I get it. I can hear them screaming at the screen. But I'm of the opinion that AI is like a meteorite that's whacking the whole web development universe. Web development, as I've said before, will survive, but it will survive in the same way that playing the guitar has survived. Lots of people play the guitar, but there's not too many people top of the charts doing fancy guitar solos and stuff like that. In fact, you hardly hear guitars in modern music these days. It's going to be like this with web development. And I believe that AI, I'm actually now convinced that AI is not just an existential threat to web development, it's the end of commercial web development. So you heard it here first. Congratulations. Now, I know what you're thinking, some of you clever clogs out there. Some of you clever clogs, and you're probably even typing this, some of you, but hold your typing. Some of you are saying, this AI stuff is overrated. All it's doing is taking on board data that's already out there, primarily just on the internet, and it's making sense of sentences and whatnot using this strange concept called vector databases. And it's not really intelligence. It's basically just regurgitating stuff that's already on the web, and when a question comes along that's maybe not on the web, it looks at what's out there and it bungles together a response. And some of you cannot wait to tell me and everyone that AI will never replace software developers or even web developers. Well, in a sense, you're technically right. And I admire your, and I know I can speak like this because I know what a lot of you are thinking. I've spoken to some of you about this. I admire your attention to detail. And you're right, it is just gathering stuff from the web. You're right, it's not really any kind of intelligence as such. And it's just bungling together information that it's found on the web as best as it can. That's all well and good. And certainly it will never be as good as, let's say, a really great developer like me. I get it, right? But the thing is, and I don't want to labour the point too much because I know that I've mentioned it here before, but perception is reality. I'll give you a good example. You think about Truth Media, the Donald Trump, I think that's the name of his stock that he has. It's in the stock market, or his social media channel, Truth Media, right? Now, this is not a political statement, but Truth Media is garbage as far as the stock market goes, right? You're probably not using Truth Media. There's going to be a time when Donald Trump steps out of the limelight, presumably, and there's not really a great future for, is it called Truth Media or Truth Social? Anyway, again, not a political statement. I'm speaking as a dude who has built stock market alert apps for a guy in Wall Street. They would look at something like that. They would look at the future projections and all of that, and they'd say, oh, it's probably overvalued. But guess what? None of it matters. The thing was, well, I haven't looked at it in a few months' time, a good few months' time. But the last I heard, it was flying. Nobody cares about the fundamental analysis, the technical analysis, the net profit, the new subscriber count, or anything. People just see it's either Truth Social or Truth Media, and they go, yay! And they get on board, and the stock price goes up. So one thing I learned from spending probably a good 3 years meddling with the stock markets, one of the things I learned is that perception is reality. You can do all the analysis and logical deduction that you want, but if people have this perception that the thing's going to fly, then the thing is going to fly. And as I said last time, the danger is not that the CEO of a large company is going to say, let's track all of the software people and we'll use ChatGPT. Ding, 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 ding. That's not how it works. This is a ridiculous oversimplification that I'm hearing. And again, forgive me if I'm treading old territory. It's just that I think it's important. The way that it's going to work is you're going to have the managers of medium and large companies are going to say, why get a web developer? We've got Charlie, the IT guy. He knows about computers. Now, Charlie spends most of his time on his knees, faffing around with cables and all of that. And Charlie is not a developer or a software developer or anything. But I have met 2 Charlies so far, both of whom have said to the boss, yeah, I can do this. And they've jumped onto ChatGPT and started building these crap applications. While guys like me say, oh yeah, he's a really smart guy, Charlie. What a genius he is. Oh, he's such a genius. Well, maybe it's time we had a little bit of honesty here. Charlie is a moron. Charlie's actually a moron. And I say this knowing that there could well be a past client watching who knows who I'm talking about and everything. Actually, they're all morons. I looked at the code that was produced by... Would you give me a time out to have a little word, a private conversation with a client of mine or former client? Just a half-minute private conversation. Just chat amongst yourselves. Okay, so private conversation. I had a look at his code and it was dog shit. He was looping, he was collecting a bunch of rows from a database, looping through the rows and displaying them on a table, and then for each and every row he was doing another SQL query. That's how much of a genius Charlie is. Now, the funny thing is that PHP is so fast that you can get away with that. So you all think Charlie's a genius because he built this thing with ChatGPT. Of course, everyone in this room would agree Charlie is a moron. But you see, and I'll go back to the room now. Hello, folks, I've finished my private conversation. The problem is that Charlie is really enthusiastic and he's really good at bullshitting and pretending he knows what he's doing. Um, and so it's actually Charlie. Charlie's going to just ruin the whole thing for everybody. That's how it works. Now, I can tell you, I was over there. I had a young gentleman who came over. What he came? What was he over for? You know, he might have actually came over to talk to me. I don't know, but anyway, I spent a solid, I would say, 2 hours speaking to a young gentleman in his 20s who's talking about getting into web development. And he knew that I was in town. And he was like, he was saying, I've done a bit of WordPress, but I know that it's slow and I want something that's fast. And, what do you think? And he's racking it up. He's racking it up. And yes, I am the dude who made the fastest PHP framework. Nice to meet you. So he's racking it all up. And he's like, I just wish there was something faster than WordPress. So what do you think? What do you think? And I says to the guy, do not, under any circumstances, touch web development. He could not believe his ears. He'd been waiting to see me for quite some time. And he never took it on board. And he was going, well, I'm going to learn. And I was like, no, you don't get it. And he says, I've done logo design and I've met companies, that could do with a website. And I was thinking I could sell them a website. And I was like, that, you don't get it. It's over. It's a waste of time. Don't do it. It took me 2 hours. And eventually, I managed to convince him not to do it, which I'm very proud of, So 3 cheers for me. 3 cheers for me. I talked him out of it. And I gave him some advice on alternative things that he could consider. And I think that he was quite glad of that. Well, he must have been, because he turned up the next day with some croissants and whatnot, But that's the state of web development. It's really, really bad. It's really desperate. And you have to believe me when I'm saying this. Do not be the idiot who says, oh, AI's not going to replace software developers. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not looking at this properly. It's not a question of, can AI do what people can do? It cannot. I agree. It cannot. The problem is, Charlie has been on his hands and knees for a long time, and he now fancies himself as a web developer. That's what's happening. And I can give you the names and addresses of companies who are laying off developers so that they can just say, we'll just get Charlie to do it. He knows what he's doing. SEO, dead. There's another dead thing. SEO. Anybody remember SEO? So anyway, the whole thing is pretty much dead, and AI's here to stay, for better or for worse. And I'm just telling you, that is the deal. Now, I hope I haven't depressed everybody here. Hope I haven't. Truth Social. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you very much, Truth Social. And what I'm saying about Truth Social is not a political statement. There shall be a political statement right about now. Because I have to tell you about something. Well, I'll tell you about a couple of other things that were on my mind, right? I'll get this out of the way first of all. I'll say a couple of words about the state of Trongate. Right now, it's 7:20 p.m. in the evening. I have been up since 5 a.m. working on Trongate. I have a really, really cool update coming up. I'm hoping to get it out by the end of this week. You're going to love it. I'll tell you what the update is, right? The update is, you know how when the engine gets updated and it says, do you want a new version? And you say yes, and it replaces the engine directory. That's just what it does, right? Well, that's going to be changing. And what we're going to have is, now, how can I explain this? When a new version of Trongate comes out, version 1 point something, right? Right now, we just swap the engine folder. The challenge is, it means that we're all stuck with the same JavaScript, the same CSS, the same templates, the same everything. So even if you've got the latest engine folder, that's no use if Trongate MX has changed, for example. So what I'm building, and I've put in, well, like I say, I started at 5 a.m. today. You do the math. And I'm working on a feature so that when new stuff gets added to the framework, you're going to have a list of all of the directories and files that are part of the Trongate framework, and you're going to be able to tick the stuff that you want replaced. So it means that for the first time, you're going to have the ability to say, okay, the new version of Trongate's out, cool, I'll take that, boom, and there you go. So it means that I've now got the ability to change style sheets or JavaScript files, even entire themes, and I can just roll them out and you can update at the click of a button. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful feature, and it's a very ambitious feature. I mean, I'm basically building, it's kind of similar to Source Tree in the way that it's going to look and function. So I'm hoping to get that out this week, and I've never been more enthusiastic. So I know that we've had, I've had a bit of a crazy time. I went off the rails because I just realised that this is 5 years of time wasted, because, again, forgive me if I'm sounding miserable, but it's a rigged game. PHP is rigged. And what a disgrace. I wish I could talk to some of the naysayers. Every now and again I go on Twitter and I say, is anybody saying it? Anybody saying anything? And they're not. But I cannot wait until they do, because I've had enough of the bullshit. See these people who come out and they say things like, Trongate's old-fashioned. I wish I could sit them down. You say, why? I mean, they never say why. But I presume it's got something to do with namespaces. I did hear somebody say that once. Oh, it doesn't use namespaces. Or it doesn't use Composer, for example. And these naysayers, in fact, is the phrase, I've never used the word in my life. Is this what gaslighting is? Is that what it means? Is it when somebody says something that's so outrageous that you're thinking, nah, I've got to be crazy here? Because when they say Trongate is old-fashioned, are they saying that... Now, think about this, right? I'm pretty sure I was the first commercial developer in the UK, one of them, for the language of PHP. I was using PHP, 2003, commercially. Are they saying, these Trongate's old-fashioned characters, are they saying that a guy like me can go through the web development game since 2003 commercially, do maybe about 500 tutorials on YouTube, be on first name terms with some of the most well-known developers in the industry, have guys like Derek, I mean, he's contributed to the Zen framework, and he's been here, literally. I know them by name. And I've got, of course, you folks here. There's some very intelligent and experienced developers here. And then, of course, we've got things like Speed Coding Academy and all of that stuff. I could go on and on and on. Are the naysayers saying with a straight face that this guy somehow went through all of these decades of this living and breathing PHP, and it never occurred to me that there's a thing called packages? Oh, gee, why did nobody tell me about this? Is that what they're saying? Is that the argument? Because if that's the argument, then these people are even more dumb than they look. Holy moly, everywhere you go, all you do is you hear about packages, composer and everything. And I know that you're all sick hearing it, but I'm going to say it again. We have to get the timeline of events clear. I looked at the PSR4 autoloading in 2018. I went through every line of code and I went through it for 5 days with my friend Derek McLean. He gets his second mention. And what we saw was a rat's nest of code. Now, that's an opinion. You may disagree. Here's what's not an opinion. Trongate is 20 times faster than Symfony and 20 times faster than Laravel, at least according to the independent benchmarks. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. Did it not occur to these naysayers that just maybe somebody looked at the bullshit? You know, all of those PSRs, the composer, the third-party dependency, the rewrite culture, all of that bullshit. Is it not possible that somebody looked at the bullshit and here's the kicker. Just in case you think the end of the sentence is decided not to use it. No, I'm 50 steps ahead of you. I actually built a version of Trongate that had all of the bullshit. That's right. I had the PSR4 autoloading, the composer. I even had the curly brackets on the next line and all of that horse shit. And that thing existed. I did it in collaboration with my friend Derek, I was telling you about. I paid him a bunch of crypto for helping. We stayed up, I think it was 5 nights, and we put it all together. And I said, thanks a lot, man. Here's a bunch of crypto. God bless you. And I was like, Trongate, actually, Trongate. It's like, V1, here we go. And I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I looked at it some more. And then 3 days later, I looked at the way that the PSR4 autoloading worked. And I think I counted 200 contributors or something crazy like that. Or it might have been 200 copyright notices. It's gone back. But I looked at it all. And then I got my mouse, right? And it turns out there's a right button. And I right clicked. And I said, send to recycle bin. And I dumped that shit. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I dumped it. Now, if anybody's really, really interested, I could probably have a word with Derek and see if we could find it somewhere, in case you think I'm kidding on. But I can assure you, on my word of honour, there was a version of Trongate that had the bullshit. It's not a case of just looked at the bullshit and then said no thanks. No. I actually built the thing with all the bullshit and then decided to get rid of the bullshit and I started again. And in doing so, I built the fastest PHP framework on the planet called Earth. And that's a fact. That's a fact. And it ain't bragging if you can back it up. So that's what happened. So there's nothing old-fashioned. The only old-fashioned people are the people still using that crap. That bloated, slow, over-engineered crap. That's... I'm going to give you a little tip for anyone with a YouTube channel here. Watch the screen, right? Watch the face. Watch the face. Now I'm going to show you something. What was I saying? What the hell? What was I even saying? I don't even know what I was talking about. Anyway, whatever. Let's just take a sentence. It's a bunch of bloated crap, right? Now, watch the face. It's a bunch of bloated crap. Do you see how that's got no power? Do you see how it's got no power? I'll do it again. A bunch of bloated, over-engineered crap. No power, no impact. Now, watch the screen and watch the face. In particular, watch the mouth. It's a bunch of bloated, over-engineered crap. Do you see? That has power. That has conviction. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, not only do we have a cure for baldness here in our midst, but I'm even telling you how to cultivate an interesting personality. Anyway, who have we got in the room here? It's the Great Vincent. Nice to see you, my friend Vincent. That's Vincent. Sampler, is that right? I can't see. My screen is so small. Jonas, how you doing, man? Nice to see you. Ahoy, ahoy to you. Jonas used to be a Laravel developer, you know. That's right. We have the great Dodder. How you doing? Thank you, my friend. And I got your message and I'm right on the case. Don't you worry. Dodder there. Very nice. Thank you. He says, welcome home. Thank you. Thank you. And Dom Sinclair. Where would we be without Dom Sinclair? How you doing, my friend? He says, is that going to work within the framework itself? Well, it's oh, how's it going to work? Well, you'll see. You'll see. It's going to be a really, really cool update, though. You'll love it. You'll love it. Basically, when it says a new version of the framework comes out, at the moment you get 3 choices. That's going to continue to be the case, but this time, if you choose yes, there's going to be a pop-up window appears and you're going to see all of the directories and files on the actual Trongate framework as it is on GitHub. You'll be able to navigate in and out and tick and untick. All of the stuff will be ticked by default that you should get. So you'll have a sensible assortment. Most of the time you'll just say go, but you'll be able to control that now, you know? So if, for example, you've done some work on admin.js and maybe you don't want the update, it's absolutely fine. You can just untick it and it's going to work fabulously. It's a really, really cool update, actually. Thank you for asking. Thank you so much. And it's the great Michael de Guzman, your friend Michael from Texas. God bless you, Michael. And don't we love Texas? I want to say a few words about the situation in America, actually. I have some things to say. Still triggered from the desktop app, Dom. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Thank you, Kyle. He says, glad DC is back. It's been a snooze fest. Well, don't you worry, man. I'm not tired. I'm feeling great. I've never felt better. And I have a lot of things to talk about. Maybe not too many. I've got this little thing that I purchased. Is it in here? Let's see if I can find it. It's not this one. But I got one of these made, you know? It's a tie clip. And it looks like this, but it's gold. And it says, the web developer extraordinaire. I actually paid for that. And it's here somewhere. And I was wanting to put it on so that I could symbolically take it off. Because, yes, indeed, I am declaring myself the king of web development. But let's face it, folks, we all have a care factor of 0. I know I have. And there's really not much more to say, you know. I'll finish off with Trongate and then I'll go on to the other thing that I wanted to mention, because I want to talk a wee bit about the state of the planet called Earth. It has been on my mind, you know. But just to finish off with Trongate. Trongate is yours. Now, I want you to take note of this little section of the video, maybe chuck it in the bookmarks, and be sure to pass it on to your legal team, because I'm telling you, and you're hearing it from me, that yes, even though I'm still working on Trongate harder than ever, I mean, I've done a solid 11 hours writing today, even though the flags are flying and you're going to see updates rolling out this week, and it continues to be updated quite aggressively. But even though that's the case, Trongate is yours. And what I mean by that is I've made the decision that I'm no longer interested in community building as far as the framework goes. The site had a help bar, and we had some really, really great contributions, especially from people like Simon, Dan. I believe Dom Sinclair was quite active there recently, and they put in a whole bunch of work, and they helped people, thousands and thousands of posts and thousands of hours of work, But I can't even entirely remember what happened. Basically, somebody had, well, it was probably me to blame. I had built a discussion forum for the website, and at the last minute, I decided I'm not into forums, I just don't like discussion forums. And somebody else had built a forum and was saying, I've built a Trongate forum. I also had another person who had started a Trongate Discord. Is it Discord? Discord. I think we've had a few of those. And I had a moment, it was about a month ago, where I was like, this sucks, Because it's like, I don't know, a whole bunch of reasons. I just wasn't into it. And I expressed the fact that I wasn't into it. I mean, put yourself in my position, right? Imagine going to somewhere like, choose your social media platform, whatever it may be. And imagine if you say, right, I'm going to register a thing for the Trongate framework. I've done this on a few of the platforms, and you go like that, Trongate not available, Trongate framework not available, Trongate PHP framework not available. That has happened to me a few times. And the people who are registering these are not malicious people. They're well-intentioned. In some instances, I've even had the pleasure of meeting one or two of them. And they start these things with really great intention. And they head on out into the world and say, hey, great news. Here's the Trongate blah blah channel or something. And they start it with really good intentions. And then they disappear. And now the name has gone. And it really irritated me. And a few other things that I've told you about. And we won't go over that ground again. But the point is, about a month ago, I expressed the opinion that I wasn't really into forums or anything like that, I had changed my mind. And I never banned anyone from, you cannot launch a Trongate forum or anything. But what I said was, if you want to do one, God bless you, but just don't expect my involvement. I just don't want involved, Anyway, that apparently is incredibly offensive to some of you people. I can't even remember the dude's name. We'll just call him Fuck him. But offensive, that's really offensive. Now, I don't really care too much about offending randoms. But about a month ago, it became clear to me that this had offended potentially more than just one or two randoms. And there were one or two people who were quite close to the inner circle who felt that I was being uncool. And they're perfectly, not only are they entitled to that opinion, but they're probably right, actually. I think I agree with them. But at that moment, I decided I am done offending people. At least, I don't want to start offending. I don't want to start offending people who are, let's say, founding members. I really don't. And so I decided the only way that I can move forward in life without offending people in my inner circle is to disengage. And so I took the help bar down. I think the pages are still there, but I took it down. I sent the offer out. If anybody, like Simon, for example, wants it, or he appears to have declined. But if anybody else had wanted to run with it, I would have considered it. Nobody's really come forward. But I've reached the conclusion that I don't want anything to do with any help bar or discussion forum or group or chat room or anything. This is a message from my new public relations manager. There's really not a nice way of saying this, but I just don't really want to interact with people. All I want to do, as far as the framework goes, I'm happy to work on the framework. Maybe I'll do a tutorial or two. Certainly I'd like to do the docs, finish them. But I'm not interested in community building. And so, the moral of the story is that you watching, that's right, you can take the logo, take the name, do whatever you want, and launch whatever you feel is good. I don't care, you know. In the past, I said, as long as you don't pretend to be me, and as long as you don't pretend to be official, but let's face it, nobody's going to do that anyway. who's gonna do that, you know? So Trongate is yours. If anybody out there has any plans of launching, maybe a discussion forum or a help bar or self-certification, for all I care, go do Trongate seminars and make millions. I do not care. I don't even want a picture of your Lamborghini. You owe me nothing. Take it and good luck. Okay? So this is the video that you bookmark when you make all of your millions and you're up in the middle of the night saying, is this guy going to come after me? I'm not coming after you. It's yours. God bless the community. I'm going to be doing the intelligent stuff, and I'll let you guys do all of the social bullshit. Fair enough? Good. So now you know, and that's that clarified. All right. Can you use Trongate for a business project, says Malcolm Green. New name. Ding, 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 ding. Well, hello to you, Malcolm Green. Not only can you use Trongate for a business project, you can launch tonight TrongateSeminars.com and sell seminars. You can launch the Trongate podcast on YouTube. Might go down quite well. You can launch training courses. You could go out tonight and say, hey, I am now launching learntrongate.com. In fact, why don't you find Trongate something? I don't know. There's a lot of domains. Go for it. Take the logo. Run with it. Run with it. What are you waiting for? An invitation from the founder? And that's the whole point of the message. Trongate is yours. So you certainly can use it for business projects. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. And I'll tell you what, if you could give me a little like for this video, that would be good. Would that be worth 5 years? Let me know that I'm on the right track with this, folks, will you? If you can handle what I'm saying. I'm watching the likes here. You know, I hope you realise that that's a well-intentioned gesture. So I'm telling you that it's cool, okay? Do whatever you want. You don't need to owe me. You don't need to pay me or mention me. You don't need to give me a percent. You don't need written permission. There's a page on the website with branding and logo. You can get different variations of the logo. Take the whole thing. Do anything you want with it. God bless you. And thank you to the person who gave the like there. Somebody did. Oh, somebody else. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So hopefully that clarifies the situation with regards to Trongate. And again, to stress the point, I'm working on it and I love it. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you, Stefan. God bless you. Actually, Stefan, you would be well positioned to run with that, you know? Yeah, you would be very well positioned to do that. Anyway, and thank you again with another little like. I appreciate it. So now I'm going to talk about a couple of other things that have been on my mind that are nothing to do with web development, but they've kind of been on my mind lately. I always say that I'm not a political guy. And we had an election not too long ago here in the UK, and I did not vote. And by the way, in case anybody's thinking that's a soundbite, and I'm just saying that, this is how unpolitical I am. I saw a tweet from a politician from the SNP, the Scottish National Party. And this politician was on saying rah, 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 some bullshit. And I left a little tweet and I said, well, thankfully they're not in power anymore, so nobody really cares. And, you know, made me feel all smug, a little political statement. And somebody got back to me and said, are you telling me that you don't think they're in power? I said, correct. And then I thought about it. And I was like, who is in charge of this country that I live in, called Scotland? Like, who is it? And I did some research, and it turns out that they are actually the government. I never even knew. And I got back to the guy. You can look this up on Twitter if you want. And I was like, oh, I made a mistake. I never realised that they were still in power. And the guy got back and he's swearing at me, calling me an effing idiot and everything. So that is how unpolitical I am. I literally did not even know who the government was. Care factor, 0. However, I've been giving this a little bit of thought, and I think that, and I know I don't want to start sounding like a poor man's Alex Jones here, but I feel as if freedom of speech is under threat. And I don't know if I can stay quiet much longer. I watched a few minutes of the debate the other night with Trump and Kamala, and it wasn't particularly interesting, actually. But what was interesting was the analysis afterwards. And when I see the entire weight of the media going all in against somebody like Trump, well, it just doesn't seem fair, shall we say. And for a long time, I've been wondering, when did the news channels become biased? Like, was that always the case? I don't know. But in any event, I think that if you vote for Kamala, you are an utter moron. Maybe a well-intentioned one. I'm sure I'll get a few thumbs downs. I'll assume that approximately 50% of you think that that's a great idea. But I don't. And I think it's starting to get kind of serious, because just yesterday I saw in the news that the UK is now on the verge, and have probably already done it, but the way I read it was they're now on the verge of approving the usage of long-range missiles that can strike deep within Russian territory. We have a government in the UK who have announced, quite a new government, who have announced that they're ending. Now, I don't know all of the details. Maybe there's somebody in Ardnamurchy who's still got the darn thing. But what I'd heard was that they were ending winter fuel payments for pensioners. And I also heard yesterday that they've demanded a review of the NHS, and the NHS is in a terrible state, and we're going to have to completely revamp the NHS, which is code word for privatise, you know. And you may say, well, that's fine, you know. Those darn pensioners, maybe they should get a woolly jumper. Why should we be wasting money heating up the pensioners? The trouble is, if given the choice between heat up the pensioners and look after the healthcare system, or pay more billions to Zelensky so that he can continue with a war that no reasonable person wants, I would choose to look after the pensioners and the healthcare system. And I don't know what's got into everybody here, but why are we all behaving like a bunch of silenced idiots? It's a legitimate question. Now, again, I'm not a political analyst. I don't know much about I don't know much about anything. I couldn't give you the terminology or who's in charge or the history or anything. But I do have a few little shreds of what might be something you could cobble together as truth. And it seems to me that not so long ago there was a thing called the Cuban crisis. I'm sure you've heard about it. And the general idea is that Russia expanded or threatened to put missiles on Cuba, whatever. And America's response at the time was, if you do that, it's war. And we came this close to the end of the world. Now, I could be wrong here, but it seems to me that the variables are really, really similar. It's just that the teams have flipped. And if I get, if I die over the next few days or the brakes on my car fail, well, it'll be because of what I'm about to say. I don't hate Russia. In fact, I don't even dislike Russia or the Russian people. I have nothing against them whatsoever. And if the media have been playing a big game of evil Putin that has worked on all of you folks, and you're all going around saying evil Putin, well, that's great. 3 cheers for you. But I'm just not feeling it. If Putin knocks on the door right now, I'll say, come on in and enjoy a can of iron brew. Putin has done nothing against me whatsoever. And as far as I can tell, I don't approve of any wars of any kind, that's for sure. But I think that there is, at the very least, a valid or legitimate argument for saying that Russia could defend their position by the same token that JFK would have done with the Cuban crisis. And I would love to do a phone-in, And the phone-in would be, I like Russia. Tell me why I shouldn't. Live phone-in. Join me. Click the button. Talk to me. Oh, you think I'm an idiot? Fine, I agree. I haven't done the research, I admit. But why don't you talk to me? Tell me what it is I'm missing here. Because I don't get this. I don't get this at all. And there are a few niggling little things that really annoy me. I have these questions. Like, why is Hunter Biden hanging about Ukraine? What business does he have sneaking around there like a pair of ragged claws on the floors of silent seas? Is there a chance that this is all about money? Is there a chance that this is actually some insane military industrial complex thing that we're seeing? And is there a chance, my friends, oh, I only ask the question, is there a chance that if we vote, we, the American people, vote in this war machine, is there a chance that we could be marching headlong into the end of the world? Well, I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. If the bombs fly tonight, if Glasgow gets nuked by Russia, and if I have any awareness at that moment, my last thoughts will be, hey, Russia, I forgive you. That would be my last thought. Probably. Or at least one of them. And I'm sure there's somebody who knows far more than me who's typing in all sorts of, you haven't got a clue. I'm sure some of them have. By the way, it'll be interesting to see the thumbs down on this one, because you do realise that if you're clicking the thumbs down and not backing it up with a comment, you're kind of telling me that you don't have an argument. So there's some really, really strange stuff going on the planet Earth right now. There's strange stuff going on in America for sure. The UK is just gone. I mean, holy moly, I'm back from France. Do you know that there are no woke adverts in France? Not one. I had a TV. I watched some, I can't go out in the sun, you know? So I watched some TV. There was not one woke advert. If you're from the UK, you know exactly what I mean when I say a woke advert. You don't need a description. But I was there and I never saw a single woke advert. The adverts, it was bizarre. I saw adverts for like toothpaste. Do you know how they advertise toothpaste in France? Here's what they do. They get, and I'll use this watch. Imagine this fabulous military watch is a Tuba toothpaste. This is how they advertise toothpaste in France. They do that, and then they do that, and then they do that. That's how they advertise toothpaste in France. Hallelujah. The way that they advertise toothpaste in the UK is something altogether different. I can't even describe because I'll probably offend some easily offended group, you know. But it's all a bit crazy. And I don't know if I'm willing to sit back anymore and pretend that this is business as usual. Good luck to anybody who can talk about code forever. But I haven't got much to say. Here's everything that you need to know about web development. Nobody really knows web development, all of it at least. Nobody does. There's a few people who have built some interesting stuff, and there's a few people who have become quite popular on places like YouTube. But for the most part, everybody's just winging it, you know. I hope you know that phrase. And he who has the, you know, I'm determined not to swear so much. Anyway, he who has, let's just say, the most confidence is probably, or she, is probably going to be the one that comes out on top. You know what I mean? And that's it. That's web development. I haven't got much more to say, you know? So here's where we are. I've been looking at the now hold on a wee second. After there you go. Ogum the Bold is here. He says, after my 3 tribune, I don't, forgive me. I'm having a dumb moment. I think he's looking at the domain names. Tribunal. Is that the correct word? You're freaking me out here. Is it not tribunal? Hold on a second. Oh no. Oh no.
Tribunal.
A body established to settle certain types of dispute. I thought it was tribunal with an R. Well, aren't I an idiot? Anyway, thank you, Ogum the Bold. He says Trongate UK 79p, Trongate AI is $49.99. Yeah, the price of domains is insane these days. I had to pay, I think, $100 for the .io. It really sucks. But thinking about paying stuff, this is what I wanted to leave you with. Funnily enough, there is a private members area for this website. And now that I'm back, I'm going to be getting incredibly active with it again. Now, when I started the private members area, I had this goal, and the goal was to pay the phone bill, you know? That would be nice if I can pay the phone bill. And quite quickly that happened. Then I thought to myself, it would be really cool if I could get 33 people joining. 33 is, of course, a sacred number. And used to be the number of the house I stayed in, actually. So I thought, yeah, that would be cool. If I could get 33 members. Anyway, there's now 37 members. And speaking about buying stuff and domains and all of that, what I've been thinking about doing, and it's just a thought, but I'm considering the possibility of investing the little money that I don't have into something like StreamYard. Now, if that happens, it means that when we're doing conversations like this, I'll be able to leave a link and you'll be able to call in and go on webcam and everything, just like me. It won't even be like, I'm the leader or anything. You can come in and participate and we can actually have a real two-way conversation, Now, I'm not sure how much StreamYard is. I imagine it's 20 or 30 quid a month. And I don't even know if it's anything that people want, Maybe people are happy if I just do tutorials or something. I don't know. But with no sales spiel and no obligations, I'm going to say this much. I'm kind of surprised at the fact that there's people joining this. Believe it or not. And I'm watching it very closely. If I get 50 paid members, and that's my target, if I can get 50 paid members, then I'm going to consider that a mandate to get StreamYard and to get it all set up here. And it'll be far more professional than this. And we can actually open this thing up and hopefully have some intelligent conversations about the state of the world. Now, speaking about the state of the world, to the 50% or so people that I probably offended with my political nonsense. Well, I will end with probably one of the most intelligent theories that I've heard, well, perhaps ever. And maybe you'll find this useful. I cannot claim ownership of this theory. I picked it up from Eric Weinstein, or is it? I think it's Weinstein. Yep. Make sure I've got his name. Anyway, I picked it up from him, and he never quite verbalized it the way that I'm going to verbalize it. So maybe I am the guy who invented this theory. So let me finish off tonight by giving you some of my incredible intelligence. The way I see it is this. As a human being, I mean, I go through all of the demographics. I mean, you think about, let's think about black American people, for example. And funnily enough, I don't like the phrase, you know. It's funny how that one got through the net, innit? That one became acceptable. Anyway, if I was a black person in America, let's say, and if I was watching the news and the way that the Democrats are playing this, I am pretty sure that it would take me about half a second to realise that I'm being played. Take me about half a second, you know? Now you can make a small thing out of Kamala and her strange Alabama accent that comes and goes and stuff. But I think stuff like that matters. I studied languages at university. The lecturer who taught me at Glasgow Uni, he was so good at understanding the nuances of accents. He was hired to identify the Yorkshire Ripper. There was a serial killer in the UK, you can look this up, by the name of the Yorkshire Ripper. And the Yorkshire Ripper had made a couple of phone calls, and the police called in a language expert, and the language expert was able to determine within a radius of, I think it was 5 miles, where the guy lived based on his voice. So when you see people like Kamala rolling her eyes and saying, oh, the accent, you know, what's this rubbish? Well, actually, it's not rubbish. It's very, very important. And when I see her saying, you got to thank a union worker, you got to thank a union worker for your 5-day work week, you know, and all of that stuff. Can you not see, oh, people of African descent, I suppose we all are, can you not see that you're being played? They think that your vote is in the bank and they can pander to you with this crap. Can you not see that you're being played? It's so obvious to me that they're all being played. I think about the gays. And let's face it, everybody's a bit gay from time to time. And what I heard, what was her name again? Taylor Swift, something about, well, we like the Dems because they stick up for LGBTQ rights and all of that. And I think to myself, okay, let's assume that He-Man here is a gay man. Hey, and of course, there's no way he's gay. You can tell by the way he dresses and looks, right? Okay. But let's just stretch our imagination and imagine that this is a gaming we're talking to here. So, what right is it exactly that you think you're going to be losing if the Democrats lose? Oh, do you hear that? That's the sound of tumbleweeds. So the Gaiman and others like him are also being played like little puppets. Now, here's the intelligent part of the conversation. Looking at the logic, it's possible. I'll pretend that I came up with this theory, by the way, and hopefully impress some of you, but I never did. But looking at the logic... Oh, fuck off. Oh, it's my mum. Could you give me a wee minute? Hello? Hey? No, I'm currently live streaming. I'm on the air. Could you let me phone you in 10 minutes? I'll phone you right back. Cheerio now. Bye. Right. So, it seems to me that freedom of speech is under attack. Kamala has made it crystal clear that she is going to be either banning Twitter or X, or, changing it and policing it to the extent where it's virtually unrecognizable. Now, looking at the logic, let's play devil's advocate here. There is a possibility that, and I don't like this, actually. I don't think I believe that this is the case, but it's a logical possibility that it's necessary to restrict the flow of free information, because if we don't restrict the flow of free information, then it could lead to, let's say, nuclear weapons appearing in your backyard, The example that Eric Weinstein said was it could lead to the collapse of institutions like NATO, for example. Now, personally speaking, I'm okay with that. I don't care about NATO. Care factor zero. I really would be quite delighted if NATO finished in the next 10 minutes. I'm not a fan of NATO, but I'm just saying that there's a logical possibility that perhaps this insanity that we're seeing, the ending of free speech as we know it, you can only really say the globalization of the planet Earth, making flags evil things. All of the insanity, here in the UK, we love importing the third world and taking money that we would have given to pensioners and using it to give Zelensky missiles and all of that. I think it's all kind of insane. But perhaps there's variables that I don't know about. Perhaps it's necessary to keep these institutions and so on up and running. Otherwise, we really will be going to hell in a handbasket. And one of the interesting theories that I heard, and, I don't know how I can say this without and keeping my face straight, but I remember watching a documentary about string theory. And I remember just watching it and saying to myself, this is a load of bullshit. I mean, that was the beginning, middle, and end of my analysis. I know it's not very scientific, but I looked into it and I was, a solid half hour, And I remember just like, I think this is bullshit. I'm not into this. I just didn't feel valuable, And interestingly enough, the physicist that I've just mentioned, Eric Weinstein, has now come out and said that string theory is actually bullshit. And it was deliberately put out there, out into the ether, to basically confuse Russia, to have the likes of the Russians using technologies that are out of date and that don't work while we head off and figure out how to build anti-gravity devices or whatever. So let's just come out with a bunch of bullshit about string theory. And maybe, again, and I know that I'm doing a lot of humming and hawing and so on, but I'm just saying that there is a logical possibility that there are variables at play here that we don't entirely understand. And maybe all of the people out there who are so enthusiastically embracing wokeism and Kamala and who think Biden is brilliant and who are all saying evil Putin, maybe all of those people are playing at 3D chess and they're 50 steps ahead of the rest of us. I don't believe that, but it's logically possible. That's all I'm saying. And these are the conversations that we should be opening up among ourselves, you know. My lights are starting to go here. It's dark outside. I'm going to have to wrap this up. But these are the conversations that I would like to start opening up with you folks, you know. And if you disagree with me and all of that, that's fantastic, because I want to hear from you, you know. So I'm going to be watching the members area very closely. We're at 37 right now. It seems every other day I've got a new scheme that I'm thinking of doing. But I'm going to keep an eye on it. And if we get up to 50 members, then perhaps that's something that we can do. And we can make this little channel a bit more interesting, you know, because web development's kind of boring, right? All right, so that's about us. And just at the last minute, we have not Mark Knopfler joins us. Ahoy to you, nice to see you and welcome. We have Mr. Mark says that is why the media is such, I have to type something, is such an important tool for propaganda. I couldn't see it because of the little love heart. Thank you, Mr. Mark. Bless you. And here comes a new name. It's Brendan. Brendan here. Brendan hyphen AU. Well, hello there, Brendan. And he says, hey, DC, do you have an opinion on the future of PHP frameworks? After Laravel's, now hold on a second. Ahoy! After Laravel's recent 57 million VC investment. I never knew about that. Did Laravel get an investment? Let me just check. This is news. Oh, it has. Well, this is a breaking news story. And thank you for that, Brendan. What a major, major story. So, wow. So here we go. And it's blurred out. Exclusive, Laravel, an open source startup in Arkansas founded by Taylor Otwell, raises 57 million from Accel, ACCEL. I've never heard of them. I'm excited to announce, this is Taylor Otwell's tweet, that Laravel has raised a 50 million Series A in partnership with Accel. I don't know who Accel are. Let me just check. I'm going to guess, is it a hosting company? Private equity. American cat. Ooh, right, okay. Okay, cool. So let me keep reading. I believe that Laravel is the most productive way to build full-stack web applications, and Laravel Cloud will be the platform for shipping those applications that this community deserves. Partnering with ASIL has allowed Laravel to start building a world-class engineering and leadership team that has resulted in Laravel Cloud demoed at LaraCon, and another product that will be announced at LaraCon AU in November. He also follows up with some important takeaways from the announcement. He says, first, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still leading Laravel's CEO, and I'm working closely with all of our teams to ensure we're building the best products possible for the community. Second, we remain committed to open source since partnering with ASIL. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We've hired additional engineering support dedicated to open source development. I also remain the primary curator of all features in the Laravel framework. Blah, 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 blah. And they've made a special announcement video. Okay. And I have some Q&As here for you. Where's the money going? It says they are scaling up the team by hiring in many positions and building out the new Laravel Cloud. They are also putting paid employees on the open source side to continue working, building, and making Laravel even better. Next, did you take the money because Laravel was struggling? No, Laravel was profitable and the framework was growing rather. Laravel Cloud, what's that? Well, Laravel Cloud was designed from the ground up with a very low barrier so anyone can deploy. The sandbox is free. Okay, so thank you for that breaking news story. You should do some research if you can, folks, and I've given you all I've got there. But Brendan is absolutely right. So, how do we feel about this? How do we feel? Well, I would say congratulations, Laravel. Congratulations, Taylor Otwell, actually. Yeah, you have to say congratulations. So, in terms of what do I think of the future of PHP frameworks, and what do I think this means for the frameworks landscape? Well, I've only just found out about this, so I'm thinking on my feet here. I think that a lot of framework makers are going to give up. And I've already seen signs of that happening. I had a message come in from my friend Derek just the other day, and he was telling me that Laminas Mail, formerly Zen Framework, has now been discontinued. They've just put the announcement up, we're not doing it anymore, goodbye. And I had another look at PHP Fuel recently. We are nibbling at the heels of PHP Fuel, and by the end of this year, we will have more GitHub stars than PHP Fuel. It's a top 10 framework. A lot of people were saying it's the new code igniter. Well, we're going to whoop it. And as far as I can tell, when I'm looking at the likes of PHP Fuel, which I've looked at, and indeed the other frameworks, they seem to be very quiet. They're not doing much in the way of commits and stuff like that. I could do this as an entire separate video, but this is how I see the state of PHP frameworks, and I felt this way even before this announcement. Today, right now, and by my estimation, there are only 3 PHP frameworks that are even worthy of discussion. Those are Laravel, Symfony, and Trongate. Now, unfortunately for me, Trongate's cancelled, so there's not much to talk about there. But the way I look at it is this, and I felt this for some time. I had asked the tech lead for CodeIgniter, and it wasn't a trick question or a loaded question. I asked Can you tell me what the main, let's say, I can't remember how I worded it. I think I said, what are the main motivators for using CodeIgniter, or what are the priorities for the framework, I think I may have said. And his answer was, I don't know, I've never really thought about it. That is insane. Don't forget, folks, not so long ago, CodeIgniter was the second most popular PHP framework on earth. There was a time around about 2011, I'd say, where CodeIgniter may have been the most popular PHP framework. That was the Laravel of the day. And here you're hearing me telling you that I spoke to the tech guy, the top, I believe they call him, I think they call him the tech lead, actually. And it's on the forum. And he says, I don't know, I've never really thought about it. I then asked one of them, what score would you give the CodeIgniter team out of 10 for how well you've managed this framework since the takeover? And the guy says, I'd give us 10 out of 10. Now that's delusional, insane, and borderline laughable. Nobody's talking about CodeIgniter. It's finished. Same goes for Cake. Falcon was interesting because it used C and it was really fast. And that was kind of an extremely intelligent project and a great idea. But I hate to lay it on you, Falcon, but Trongate's faster. So there's no longer... Falcon is no longer the fastest PHP framework. It's Trongate. That's a fact. So that's irrelevant. Laminas, Lamas as I call it, hasn't got any traction as far as I can tell. They've just discontinued their mail. Fuel had an update on GitHub about a month ago, but you're not using Fuel. Nobody is. And Trongate will have more stars than Fuel by the end of the year. Apologies if the camera's shaking. I'm kicking the table here. Now, there's a few micro frameworks out there, but they're not really up to much. And the micro frameworks pretty much shot themselves in the foot by doing all of the PSR4 auto-loading stuff. And you can look this up online. Go look up the article by... Who's the head honcho of Slim again? He's a nice guy. He sent me a nice tweet. I think his name's Rob, something or other. But he had written an apology article, basically. He wouldn't say that if he was here. And he's not here, so let's not attack the guy or anything. But you can look this up, and he'd written an explanation about why Slim is so slow. I did a Slim framework tutorial series. I think it's had about 80,000 views. It's still on YouTube. And I know what I'm talking about when I tell you that the micro frameworks are demonstrably 4 to 5 times slower than Trongate. So, if you want to know the truth about PHP frameworks, this is honestly what I believe. There are only 3 PHP frameworks right now that are doing anything that can even be considered to be competitive. Laravel, Symfony, and Trongate. The other PHP frameworks, by my estimation, are not even competing. I don't see any evidence of it. I'm sure that PHP Cake is being updated by a very dedicated team. I've met a few of them. They're nice people. I'm not slagging their framework. But I'm just saying that I don't see any competitive spirit from them. I think that they are basically Me Too's, and they're indistinguishable. The only thing distinguishing them is a logo. So, you want to talk about frameworks, PHP frameworks? That's it. Laravel, Symfony, Trongate. Now, Laravel, congratulations, tonight is your night, and I'm not going to rain on that parade. Well done, Laravel. And there is no but. It's a great achievement. So Laravel's flying high. But let's talk about Symfony. Symfony has nowhere left to go. I don't see where they can go. Because Laravel and Symfony, even though they have similar benchmarks, and I believe, I'm not sure about this, I might be wrong, I'd heard that there's parts of Symfony in Laravel, I don't know, but, pardon me, in spite of the fact that there's similarities at face value from a guy who doesn't know the frameworks, okay? But I see similar benchmarks. I see similar versioning schedules and stuff like that. It looks like they're kind of similar. But they're actually very, very different in terms of how they're managed. And it was so obvious. Apologies for coughing into the mic. It was so obvious for me to see this. Actually, a few months ago, it occurred to me that the frameworks that do well, certainly in the PHP landscape, are gonna have to have an ecosystem. It's not enough to build a fast framework. We've got ChatGPT. Anybody here can build it, a PHP framework tonight. You can probably build one that's even better than Trongate tonight. Okay, the technology's out there. It's not rocket science. So I'm not really that impressed by somebody who comes out with a new super duper framework. Nobody cares. But the frameworks that survive into the future and that will do well are the frameworks that have an ecosystem. And that is exactly what Laravel has. They have a brilliant ecosystem. I am the world's biggest Laravel critic. I've had people coming after me because of the terrible things I've said about Laravel. But the one thing I've always been clear about is that Laravel has a great ecosystem. They've got all sorts of tools and software applications and add-ons and all sorts. Even the logos are cool and the names. It's been promoted brilliantly. And you go into that framework and you get into it and it's like they can handle your hosting and everything. You name it. I think they've even got stuff that can handle Git commits and stuff like that. Like they've really got the whole frigging ecosystem figured out. And they have an ecosystem. 3 cheers for Laravel. Now, Trongate has an ecosystem as well. And you might say, well, how does it? Well, Trongate is the only PHP framework that has its own JavaScript libraries. So we have our own date pickers and multi-file uploaders and all of that stuff, our own API manager. We have our own CSS library. We have our own architecture. We've got our own updating system that no other framework has. And we've got this thing called the module market, which hasn't done too much so far, but very soon you'll see that the module market is going to be a credible alternative to Packagist. I'm not saying it'll have a gazillion downloads. I'm just saying it'll be a credible alternative for somebody who's not into third-party inter-version dependency craziness. Building all of that extra stuff, and I could go on, the code generator, Trongate pages, Trongate MX, the list of stuff that Trongate has is phenomenal. In fact, I think Trongate has more features than any other PHP framework. I would take the Pepsi challenge on that. One thing is for sure, if Laravel has an ecosystem, and I think it's got a good ecosystem, I hope that Laravel developers will return the favour and have the courtesy to say Trongate has an ecosystem. Might not be fully developed. We're kind of like the Death Star at Return of the Jedi, you know. We're not quite there, but we're just about there. And I spent a lot of time building that ecosystem. And it was important because if you've not got an ecosystem, you're not in the game. This brings me on to Symphony. Symphony made a decision a few years ago, and I'm going to wrap this up in such a way that it hopefully doesn't sound like I'm making a political statement. But they announced a diversity initiative. Fabien Potencier himself wrote an article and he said the biggest problem with Symphony is diversity. I think that was his words. I could look it up. And they went right down that whole, I suppose you could say, I'm trying really hard not to say the word woke, but it's all it is, you know. They held their conference at Disneyland, for crying out loud, right? They got, they set up these ridiculous governing bodies to tell us all how to stop being racists or whatever, right? Now, thank you, Symphony. I appreciate the lesson. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll be sure to make sure I get my pronouns right and all of that stuff. God bless you. I love it all. But the trouble is, Symphony has gone so far down that road now that they have forgotten about ecosystem. There is no Symphony ecosystem. None at all. You look at the Laravel website and you look at the Symphony website. It's very obvious to me. You look at a Laravel website, it's like a friggin' carnival. All of the stuff going on. And I'm supposed to be the Laravel critic. But I've always been clear about that. The ecosystem's fantastic. You look at Symphony, you don't get that. Instead, go to the site right now. Shall we go to the Symphony site right now? Have a look. I don't even know if I can look at this. Have a look yourself. Symphony decided to focus on politics. There's no other way of saying it. I don't think politics should be a part of web development. I don't care who you vote for. I don't think it should. And I think Symphony made a terrible mistake. And I think that the makers of Symphony must surely be having the biggest oh shit moment ever, because they're not getting a 56 million investment. Not at all. And so, to the victor goes the spoils. Tonight belongs to Laravel and everybody behind Laravel. We should applaud them and we should be happy for them, authentically, not gritting our teeth and all of that. Oh, Laravel. No, this is a good thing. And it's an incredible and a spectacular achievement. I do think, though, that this is very interesting because it kind of confirms what I already knew. Nobody cares about the framework. It's all about the ecosystem. And the reason why Laravel got that investment is because they have the ecosystem. And the reason why Trongate is the only credible alternative to Laravel is because Trongate is the only other PHP framework that has anything that resembles an ecosystem. So, you may submit your bid. We'll start the bidding, shall we, at 55 million? Bargain prices tonight. Anyway, that's what I think. I do think that, and again, I don't want to end with any venom, but I really, really feel, and I've felt it for a long time, Symphony are in a whole lot of trouble because you've only got limited resources. Do you know what I mean? And they chose to push all of their resources towards all of the political stuff, and now they're done. So, I think PHP has actually got very interesting. By my estimation, There are only 3 PHP frameworks that I would consider to be competitive. I don't care about GitHub stars. It's Laravel, Symfony, and Trongate. But Symfony are done. So let's see what happens. Because the real story has only just begun. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheers. Make sure I don't have a comment before I go. All right, we're okay. Oh, how you doing, Fionn? Ahoy, ahoy from Baltimore. Nice to see you, my friend. Nice to see you. Good to see you, my friend. All right. Thank you, Jonas, as well, telling us a wee bit more about Symphony. Thank you. All right, folks, the comments are all there. I'm going to have to go and get Coco. Bless you all. Bless you all. Thank you, Brendan. God bless you, my friend. We'll talk soon, I hope, Brendan, okay? Take it easy, kids. I'll see you soon. Bye now. Bye.